Welcome everybody, I'm Adam. And in this problem, we're going to be finding the exact value of the expression tangent of u plus v given the information that sine of u is equal to negative 3/5 for some angle u between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi, and cosine of v is equal to 15/17, where v is some angle between 0 and pi over 2. So before we proceed, it helps to know what we need. So tangent of u plus v, using our sum and difference formulas, is equal to the tangent of u plus the tangent of v divided by 1 minus tangent of u times tangent of v. So to compute this, namely what we need is the tangent of u and the tangent of v. So let's look at what we're given. We have the sine of u and the cosine of v. Now, if we recall back a few sections or chapters ago, we've done problems like this, where given the sine of some angle equal to a value, and we know where that angle lies, we can find the other trig functions, namely the cosine and tangent values of that given angle. So that's really what we're going to do. So looking at this, say having our xy plane, and knowing that, say, sine of the angle u is equal to negative 3/5. And where is u? Between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. What does that tell us? Well, that tells us that the angle u is in the fourth quadrant. So some angle, say u, in our fourth quadrant. Okay? Now how do we deal with this before? Well, there's two different ways. One way that we dealt with this is by looking at some angle, right, namely in some quadrant other than the first, we can consider the acute angle to the x-axis, which is our reference angle, which we'll call u prime. And also consider this little right triangular figure that's made in our xy plane. So what does this tell us? Well, using the reference angle, we can just use right triangle trigonometry, focusing on this, where we have our reference angle u prime, and namely the opposite of that angle, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse. And what we know about sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that tells us that this leg is equal to 3, and the hypotenuse would be equal to 5. So sine of u prime being 3 over 5, but this sine of u is negative because we know that sine is negative in the fourth quadrant. So how does that help us? Well, again, what do we need? Looking back here, one of the things we need is tangent of u. Using our little right triangle we have here, how do we find tangent? Tangent of the angle, say u prime, right? The TOA in our SOHCAHTOA is opposite over adjacent. We have our opposite, so we need our adjacent. And using the Pythagorean theorem, we know this leg of this right triangle is equal to the square root of the hypotenuse squared minus the remaining leg squared. So the square root of 5 squared minus 3 squared, or 25 minus 9, is the square root of positive 16, or 4. So the tangent of u, the angle u on the outside, is equal to the tangent of u prime, right, which is opposite over adjacent. But we know that tangent is negative in the fourth quadrant, so we have a negative there. So we have tangent of u. Now all we need is tangent of v. And coming over here, we're going to do the same thing. So considering the xy plane and our angle v, which is between 0 and pi over 2, namely that tells us that this angle is in quadrant 1. So we have the angle V. Now, if we consider the reference angle idea, the acute angle to the x-axis is V. So V is its own reference angle. So we can consider this right triangle figure and do the same thing. Well, what do we know? Cosine of V is equal to 15 over 17. And what is cosine of an angle, right? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So that says the adjacent leg here is 15 and my hypotenuse is 17. Well, what do we need? The tangent of V. So let's go ahead and put that here. Right? So we want to know what tangent of V. Well, tangent again is opposite over adjacent. I have the adjacent, we need the opposite. And what is this? Using the Pythagorean theorem, is the hypotenuse squared, 17 square root of the hypotenuse squared, minus the square of the remaining leg. So 17 squared minus 15 squared, which is equal to the square root, simplifying, square root of positive 64, which is 8. So our tangent value is positive 8 over 15. And of course, tangent is positive in the first quadrant, so positive 8 over 15. Well, now that we have these, we can plug it into our sum formula and simplify. So these are our important values. Okay, so let's come down here. So our tangent of u plus v is equal to tangent u plus tangent v, or negative 3/4 plus tangent v, 8/15, all divided by 1 minus tangent u, or negative 3/4 times tangent v, 8/15. And now we're just going to simplify this a little bit. So there's more than one way to do this, but I think how we're going to start is by simplifying the numerator by combining these two fractions. We can do that by finding a common denominator. So we're going to multiply 8/15 by 4 over 4 and negative 3/4 by 15 over 15. And so that's going to give us, get a fraction in the numerator with common denominator of 15 times 4, or 60, and negative 3 times 15, or negative 45, plus 8 times 4, or 32. Now the denominator can be simplified, noticing that 3 goes into 15 5 times, 4 goes into 8 2 times, and our two negatives will cancel, giving us a plus. So we have 1 plus, say, 2/5. Okay, so negative 45 plus 32 in our numerator gives us a negative 13 over 60. And our denominator, adding 1 plus 2/5, thinking of this as adding 5 over 5 plus 2/5, gives us 7/5. So a fraction divided by a fraction, we invert and multiply. So our 7/5 we're going to multiply up top by 5 over 7. 5 goes into our 60 12 times. And so lastly, we have negative 13 over 12 times 7, or 84. And so there we have it, the exact value of tangent of u plus v. Thank you very much.